What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Zach Dresler Show. I'm Zach Dresler. If you haven't been here before, that's who I am. Thank you for tuning in for the first time. Welcome back, subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet and you want to,
smash it.
Smash the subscribe button. Tell a couple friends, if you want. No biggie if you don't.
The overwhelming majority of the people watching right now are not subscribed. Please subscribe.
Yeah.
That'd help us. Yeah.
Please, that'd be huge. There's a lot of great content that comes on this channel. This weekly show is one of them. If you, by chance, can't watch the whole thing on YouTube and want to listen to the audio portion in your car, wherever you're at, in the bathroom, taking a shower, driving somewhere that you probably shouldn't be driving without a mask, wherever you want to, you can listen to the audio version on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher.
Everywhere. Zach Dresler Show.
Today's guest, fabulous comic, Ellen Doyle. Her Instagram handle is This Broken Adult. Go check her out. She's fantastic. She's going to be the next big comic out there.
She's hilarious.
She's an hysterical person. Jokes are just fucking top notch.
Effortless.
Man. Yeah. And she's a good friend of mine. We lived together for a little bit. Just please do me a favor, go follow her. You won't regret it. But how you doing, man? How you doing, Indy?
Doing good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
It's been a little while. But it's always good to talk again. I
enjoy this
pandemic, man. I only get to. Yeah. I luckily get to talk to my girlfriend every day, but not a lot of people get to talk to anybody.
No, it's the interacting with friends and former colleagues, whatever you want to call it. It's been limited. There's people, that I'm really, really good friends with that I barely talk to, and that live in Los Angeles. And it's nothing, and it's weird. It's nothing that I'm not offended by it, and I know they're not offended. I think it's just we've gotten to this point where we're hitting a year. It's been a year since we've gone to this lockdown, and I think there's just nothing to really talk about. There's only so much we're allotted to do, unless you live in Florida or Texas now. But even then, I feel like we're still restricted in terms of what we should be doing and limiting ourselves to our daily routines because it's not normal life.
Yeah, I also think this also kind of unveiled how the sausage is made in society, in that
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of goes oh wait, this is how we're all set up. And also even when the lockdown lifted for filming in LA, I think it was August.
Yeah.
September.
For a brief moment before they walked it back down. Then yeah.
We all got to see how long it takes for TV shows to get made.
Yeah.
Because we saw LA's filming again, but then you didn't see a new show come out for 2 months.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh, that's how TV's made?
Yeah.
You see, okay, then they're shooting, and now it takes X amount of time. We just see it as new show, new episode, new season, season premiere, season finale.
Especially with these new COVID restrictions, I'm sure it took because TV shows can be made pretty fast when they're rolling full function production, but because of the way everything is, it's not the same way anymore. It's just not possible. And this is a good segue in terms of this opening topic, which is going to be from the heart or kind of off my cuff of my head that I sort of wrote certain things down, but I like to I'm a chatty guy. I talk about talk to my coworkers when I have them, my friends, about a lot of things, but I as I've gotten older, I've been really less public about my feelings, about my emotions, and I think it's just because I trust less people. But this pandemic, and especially the past 2 to 4 years, I've really been struggling with anxiety, and which spirals into depression. And again, I don't know where this piece is going to go here, but recently I've been really struggling with it, and I think it's just the combination of things. I think it's I'm sad to see this is where the world is and everything, and I haven't seen my family and my friends from back home in New York and New Jersey in over a year. I see my brother every other week. He's now moved out to LA, but it doesn't feel real because there's all these things, there's restrictions, and I know I come on here and I joke and I have a good time, and that's genuine. That's all genuine. I think when I talked about last episode with Tristan about like, this depression that I keep in. I joke about it to keep people at bay, because I just think people don't want to hear. Everyone's going through shit. Everyone is going, like Tristan was saying, in the previous episode, when he made Foxes, he made it about himself and what he was going through, and he didn't realize how many people it actually it touched, and and people that were coming, I struggle with this as well, and I know people will sympathize with me, and some people be like, you're not really that bad, your life isn't that bad, you shouldn't be this upset. But I think it's just sometimes I internalize so much that it bogs me down, and I don't know how to feel, and I do need to go see a therapist, but unfortunately those things cost money as well. I was seeing therapy when I did have a full-time job, but it wasn't, it was only once a month, and that wasn't enough. But because there was so much limit in terms of like my coverage, my provider, there were so many people that needed it, I wasn't in the threshold of what they call at risk or suicidal. And, that doesn't mean I don't have those thoughts, but, talking to someone is a huge help, but it costs money, and I don't have the money right now. And so like, I think sometimes I should use this show just to vent, just to talk about things. And like, Indy, you've gone through a lot of fucking shit the past 6 months, and I admire how you've handled it,
Yeah, man, it's a journey, man. Like, just like you say, everybody's going through something, like it's, happiness is never something you're going to be. It's something that you are.
It's true.
Right. So like, it's not something that you can attain. So like, if we try to reach for it, it's already within us. So there's nothing to reach for, like, other than turning. It's weird because turning internal can be dangerous and positive.
Of course. Yeah. I just feel like I've just become numb. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like this
we all
numbing
are.
feeling, like there's not much that brings me joy. Like, the things that used to bring me joy, sports, all that stuff. It's not. And it's probably because of the current situation we're living in. It's, it's this current pandemic situation. I'm trying to find that joy. I'm trying to find that spark again. I don't know where it went. I feel like, a lot, some of it went away when my mom passed, 16, 17 years ago. And I've struggled to get to that point again. I always think about what my life would be like if she was still around. There's a lot of people that wouldn't be in my life right now if she was still around. I'm not saying that in a negative way or a positive way. I'm just saying in an effectual way. My stepmom, my step siblings, all that stuff. People that, who knows if I would have gone to Australia? I lived in Australia for a year, and who knows if I would have done that if my mom was around, because I probably wouldn't have left my mom. I don't know if I would have even moved out to LA. And there are some good things about it, but, I think it's just this pandemic, everyone's suffering from different degrees of depression. And, I just feel like the emptiness and sadness and aloneness sometimes. And, like we talked about in the previous show as well, I think social media attributes to that. I think social media is a huge, contribution to that, that sadness, that negativity, that loneliness.
Yeah. Keep up with the Joneses. It's the new age version of that.
Yeah, because, 15 years ago, no one gave a shit about how many followers you had. No. You felt good about your friendships, the real friendships you made.
15 years ago, nobody was online during the day because they had jobs and were at school. Remember that? Where you're like, oh, they're not online yet. They're not home from school yet.
Yeah, right. You're AIM, like whatever it was, whatever thing. There was MySpace, but it wasn't like as interactive as it is with Facebook and everything, and TikTok and is now. And but it's like this world that we've created, this virtual world that we've created, is causing, I feel, more people to.
It hurts and it helps because, like, at least we'd be able to FaceTime and to Zoom people and to actually do that. But also,
100%.
Like, it comes at a cost with fatigue. And also, it's like, well, yeah, we're in 7 days or in in 11 days, it's going to be a year.
Yeah.
You know, in this lockdown, you know, and like, you know, my mom passed the December before lockdown, and we did her funeral on the the week before lockdown. Jesus. Like, and everybody was like, even people still flew out. It wasn't the best turnout, obviously, because like things were like turning bad.
They were getting to that point,
right? We were like, don't travel, stop doing stuff, and then like we had the funeral, and then the next week, like it was almost like it was weird. Like my mom passed, like it was almost as if it was a blessing. She didn't have to go to the hospital during COVID. She didn't have to wear a mask all the time and do all these things. Like it's weird because I think we have to do our best to remind ourselves of the silver linings.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else. And I think there is more good in the world than bad. You know? That's why we all stop at stop signs and then maybe and stoplights, and then the 1% or whatever percent it is don't.
I never thought of it that way. That's a good way to look at it. And
you know? There's more good in the world than bad.
I want to believe that. I'm not saying you're wrong because
I say that as a fact so that I believe it.
No, and I want to believe that, and I think it's just like everyone goes through different things in their lives that, you know, may alter that thought.
Right.
Or
it doesn't
opinion.
mean evil doesn't exist.
100%. There's definitely evil in the world, but you know, I appreciate you sharing that because I think that's an important thing to share. I think everyone has different sharing and coping mechanisms for how to treat their own, you know, anxiety and depression. And
it's easy for me because I'm like it's so much harder for my dad. You know, like going into lockdown alone 4 months after your wife dies of like 38 years. You know, like,
which is very isolating to begin with. You know, it's just so it's just
insane. It's insane. And like, what can you do too? Like in a pandemic where I'm like, okay, Dad, do you want to pay for me to get rapid tests every time I see you? Because I can't afford to do that. Yeah. And it's like, hey, do you want to pay, you know, $400 a month for me to see you? Yeah. You know, like and that's
the thing. It shouldn't even be that, you know, that's just, and that adds another layer to this, like, the like anxiety and depression is just like, you know, I got to get tested. That's more money. That's more money I'm not making. That's, you know, and like this job and all this shit. Ugh. Yeah. And like, it's hard to see the silver linings. Cause like, I don't know. It's not like a checklist I do, but I make sure that I practice gratitude every day. I wake up and I look outside and I see another day and I'm like, wow, okay, let's do this. Like I'm glad I can be able to work from home remotely. I don't have to wear a mask all day. I'm not a frontline worker. Like those people are like heroes. Yeah. You know, no, absolutely. So like not like heroes, they are heroes. No, they are.
So like it's just finding the things where it's like, you know, I could be making lattes all day with a mask on. Yeah. Yeah. Like put yourself in that person's shoes that I go there. Like I went there today to buy a Starbucks and I just saw them for that 5 minutes I was there and I forgot about them. Right. And they're there for 8 hours, 10 hours. Right. Yeah. So like, it's just being able to go, we're not necessarily experiencing suffering at this moment. Yeah. It's a collective suffering that we're all feeling. Exactly. You know, and it's not acute. It's dull and deep. Yeah. I could have said it better. Yeah. That's a really good point. Really well said, Indy. Thank you, man. This is what the Zach Dresler show is.
And again, I didn't know where I was going to go with this. I just feel like I need to get off my chest because I've been feeling down. I've been feeling melancholy. Just something cumbersome in my body, like in my emotions.
What thing that is entertaining that is static, that is constant? Nothing. Right. Right. Like we're gonna have shows like this. We're gonna have shows that aren't like this.
Yeah, of course.
They're all gonna be entertaining. Variety.
Yeah. But I would love people's suggestions and like, you know, and your thoughts on what you do to stay positive. You have ideas, other than therapy, if something that you do yoga or like some book you read, a mantra you say to yourself every day, like, you know, what Indy was talking about, you know, comment below, let us know. I'd love to know, you know, I want positive vibes only, really. You know, like I like to be negative every once in a while in a jokey way, but for this particular thing, let's just be positive.
Like, how bad will you feel if you practice gratitude? How bad will you feel if you give yourself a break?
But it's hard for a lot of people because
I know.
It's hard.
Like, it's tough to understand that it's within our control. But like saying that is so almost it's within your control. It's almost like, yeah, good luck. Yeah. Whatever, fuck off.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true. And that's it's tough to come to grips with, that we're in control of those things.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously genetics has to plays a part in it, but a lot of it's attitude. It's like, I even saw a video, 50% of women with a certain gene will get breast cancer. And 50% is, you could view that as, I'm going to die or I'm going to live. And the video I was watching was like, the people who live have a mindset that is, I'm in the 50% that's going to live, not die. So we are in control of that, right? It's not my show. I don't
No, I'm listening. I'm entertaining this. I agree. It's hard to wrap these things into words and practice them, because, like you said, it's all around. You know what? It's all around us.
Yeah, the collective suffering. It's wide and deep. Like it's. Even talking about it is exhausting, right? Because like even like Ellen, who we'll talk to in a second, like she was going through like, I have 2 hours of COVID jokes. Like it's like, how useful is that going to be after COVID? Not very, right? But right. It's what we're going through, right? And it's like, this is going to go away. A pandemic has happened before. And it's faded away.
But let's think about the law. But I feel like these gonna be like long lasting.
Oh my God, the kids in school,
post
kids. Yeah, I'm interested on child development, on how this is going to change. Like, I was homeschooled for 4th and 5th grade, and I gained like 80 pounds. Huh. That's how I got big.
Really?
I was homeschooled. My mom didn't like the curriculum, and I'm not blaming this on my mom.
No. But I get that. There's tons of people that are homeschooled, and I'm reading that too. It's Zoom fatigue. People kids are getting Zoom fatigue from not being in the class, and I get that, because I mean, listen, in a work day, when we're working at a company, when we're at BuzzFeed, I had to set an alarm on my phone to remind me every 45 minutes to take a break, 15 minutes from the computer, and go walk around, give my eyes a break, give myself a mental charge.
You doing that now?
No,
we all aren't.
None of us are. Yeah. None of us are. And then it's interesting, because I think it's like something we talked about in the previous episode with Tristan, where he said that it's just he liked the work from home in the beginning, but now it's just too much.
Right.
There's
no delineation between life and work.
Exactly.
And also, you don't want to appear that you're not being productive. So. Yep. There's a line that you have to tread where, like, you have to go, I only answer emails this time.
Yeah.
After this point, I'm done looking at, and it's because you'll look up and it's 2 hours after that point, and you're like, fuck.
Well, that was the thing. It was, and I think it regiments you. Going to the job regiments you. I mean, I need that regimentation. I need to be at a certain place, whether it's between 9 and 10. Right. Know that I'm working the hours until 5 and 6. And then going home and leaving work at work. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of times I bring work home, or I bring the emotion of work home. But now there's, like you said, there's no delineation between it. It's just, and when I was working at Universal before I got let go because of COVID, I started just working. I would start working until noon sometimes, and then I'd be working until midnight, because it was just, I had nothing else to do. So I was like, fuck it, let me just get rid of the work. And that's not a way to live.
Yeah. It's such an interesting time, because
And even the small, things we can't do anymore. Like go play fucking pickup. And if you are playing pickup hoops, great. I'm not going to sit here and shame you for going to live your life during a pandemic, but just to be aware of like this, there are repercussions. There are things that happen because we're not following guidelines. Right. I don't know if I'm not going to be sitting here and be like, if we just sat here for 6 weeks and locked down, that this thing would be gone. I can't get behind that because again, the science was too new.
Yeah, people. There's no way. There's no way unless we're North Korea. There's no way to control that many people.
No way.
It's interesting, but I definitely do want to thank you for sharing your story. I think I don't want to gloss over.
No, but like you said, we're gonna talk about this again. I mean, this is just the way I feel, and like I said, I've been feeling this way for the past 2 to 4 years.
Yeah,
but it's really endured the past year because of COVID.
Right.
And it's just crazy to me that we've hit this year mark, and I feel like things have gotten slightly better since this thing has started.
Only because of the vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it'll go away. It'll take a long, long time. 2030, we won't be wearing masks. It'll be a memory, a pretty recent memory.
Yeah.
But it'll be gone. We'll be going to concerts.
Yeah. I mean, I think that will happen by 2024, 25.
That's what I'm saying. 2030, it's going to be a memory, right? And this happened in the teens in 1919, right? And it's that ended, and then we forgot about it, and then a war happened, and then nobody even remembered the pandemic until another pandemic happened, right? So we're in an ebb and flow. This is just a really
history
long
is just
ebb.
repeating itself, is what it seems like too.
Right. But I also think there's going to be a huge silver lining in remote work. I know that the company I work for is completely going remote in terms of if you don't need to be in the office, you're not going to the office. Now a job like me, I'm in IT, so I have to go in there, turn on some hard drives or mess with the server or whatever, but it's tiered now. So it's like there's you don't need to go to the office, you kind of do, and then you have to. So there is going to be some good that comes out of this, because I had to drive 2 hours a day to get to work. And that's now 2 hours that I could spend exercising, but I don't. right. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
A year in, by the way.
Yeah. Listen. It took me, 13, 14 years of my adult life to realize I needed to get in shape, I was in shape until I was 22, 23, and then, I stopped and, just didn't care. And then, when I was 36, I got this opportunity through BuzzFeed to lose all that weight. And I needed to, because, I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I didn't want to, and it still affects me. I go through ebb and flows of eating healthy, eating crappy, eating healthy. And when I eat crappy, I feel the diabetes taking over. Yeah.
So does that go away if you lose weight?
It's controlled if you lose weight.
Controlled.
It's controlled. Okay. It's managed. So I don't.
Yeah. Controlled, baby. No, I don't.
But we could get to my diabetes some other time. We don't need to get into that. No. I just wanted to share how I was feeling.
That's okay. Let's do that.
I wanted to talk with you about it.
Yeah.
But
everybody's going through it, and it's tough to. It's weird because it's such a cliche, but everybody's going through it too.
Yeah.
And also, dude, invest your money, because after this pandemic, it's gonna boom. It's gonna boom.
I know.
It's gonna boom. And I think that's a good segue into.
Yeah, so we're gonna have Ellen. That's a great segue to bring in Ellen Doyle now. Fantastic comedy friend. Let's get her on the show, shall we?
Are you acting like it's a new day? Is this a continuity error?
Yeah, so I was interviewing someone else beforehand, so I don't want it to always look like I'm wearing, because I did that I think the first three. I'm wearing the same goddamn plaid shirt.
That's your thing then. Then that's your merch.
That's my merch. The one plaid shirt that I use, that Carrie uses to get photos as she's taking for auditions to audition as a lesbian.
It works. Everyone's making money off of it.
Yeah, everyone says it's it's great, dating the same sex is great because you can always share the same wardrobe. Well, guess what? Carrie and I share the same wardrobe regardless in terms of shirts. Not bras or pants or anything like that, but shirts.
You're not there yet, but you'll get there.
Yes.
So it's so early in the relationship. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me.
This is like, something that, I've been wanting to, here's the thing is that I'm glad you joined me because Carrie still won't join me.
Really?
Carrie's like, I don't have nothing to talk about. I'm like, you have tons of shit to talk about. I go,
Plus her laugh alone.
I go, exactly. I'm like, we've been living together for 2 years. We've been talking about plenty of shit. It could have been a whole fucking, Lifetime movie at this point.
I know.
So this is Ellen Doyle. Ellen Doyle is, well, I think, a fantastic comic. Should I call you a road comic? Because Carrie's like, she's a great road comic. I'm like, not a great comic, Carrie. She's a great comic, but she travels. She's like what a traditional comic is. That a lot of people don't do anymore. Like this is, being on the road, doing tours, doing shows.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right? No?
I'm currently in Minneapolis.
Are you doing a show or you're working?
I'm doing a show
Okay.
here, which is also work. But yes, I also do production stuff. I'm not working on that right now.
Right. But the comedy is the thing. And listen, I've known you now for, what's it, 2 years through Carrie?
Yeah.
So I met Ellen through Carrie. You guys met at the St. Louis Obispo Festival?
San Luis Obispo Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
San Luis. We keep it all Spanish. Yeah, we keep it all Spanish.
St. Louis Obispo.
I always say St. Louis. That's indie. I always say St. Louis, and Carrie's like, it's San Luis. I'm like, yeah, that too. That's a great place to go to as well.
It also sounds beautiful.
It also sounds stunning and beautiful. But you guys met there. And I remember she's like, you have to meet this wonderful woman that I just met, my new best friend, Ellen Doyle. And I go, sounds like a bit basic, generic name, Ellen Doyle. Did you do, it's just like, could you meet anybody less basic than that, Ellen Doyle? Did you always get, when you were growing up, since you have the last name Doyle, did you always get from Adam Sandler's movies, oh, Doyle rules?
Sure did, yeah.
Did you hate it?
That's still relevant. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I was in elementary school then, so I was just happy anyone was talking to me. Yeah.
All right. So you met Carrie there, but how did you get into like stand up? What was it that jarred you stand up? Why did you want to do it? And like, why you can, what interests you? Because I love stand up. I did do it, and now I've stopped doing it. And Carrie's like, you should continue doing it because you're funny. And I'm
should.
Like, I think you think I'm only funny, Carrie. No one else does.
Yeah. No, you are funny. No, first and foremost, I got into comedy when I officially started hating myself. I always wanted to do it, but you don't ever start until tragedy strikes. No, it happened before tragedy struck. I actually told my kindergarten teacher I wanted to be a stand-up comic.
Did you really?
Yeah, when they're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Yeah, and I remember because my mom actually, a 5-year-old, told me how to spell it, comedian, like the female.
Right.
So that's how she's like, oh. It's like, let's not teach Ellen to read. She has no ambition in life.
But and just I was like, comedian.
Cool. Comedian. I didn't start until I was 30, actually. I had performed, I was a dancer for a very long time. Since I was 2, I went to college for it. And then I did theater stuff. And I don't know, stand-up always felt kind of unobtainable, I guess, which is weird because it's like, all you have to do is be like, where's the shittiest bar in town with a microphone,
Exactly. Where are people that don't want to pay attention to me so I can yell into a microphone and they're like, what are you saying?
Right. Yeah, anything. You're just like, this, my friend owns a pizza place. You're like, that works. Like, that's fine. Yeah. And then I moved to Los Angeles. I started working in production and of the reality TV variety because I hate myself that much and I hate everyone else. No one's learning. So, and then being on, everybody on set always has another passion, you know what I mean? They're also a photographer. They do their own movies or
now it's OnlyFans.
Right. or porn, just strictly porn.
Just strictly porn.
What do you do besides producing? Sex for money. Oh, but it's on camera. You're like, oh.
Well, then it's okay. I thought you were just hanging out on 4th Street, just being like, hey, you want to do this or what?
I don't always want to be a producer for reality. I want to be a whore.
I'll tell you, I'll come
to your show.
I'll produce this sex show we're about to have.
And this home makeover show. If anyone needs a dildo shop, I know where to go. And it's like, guys, we're buying a couch, but just so you guys know. Yeah. And so then just being on set, everybody was always like, do you do stand-up? And I was like, no. They're like, I think you should do stand-up. And I was like, really? And that was years of people saying that to a point that I was like, I was on a show with a guy a producer who did stand up in the 90s. And he was like, you definitely should do it. And I was like, I don't know where to begin. And he sent me to a class. And so I took a class, which is great because I'm very much an accountability person where it's like, if no one was pushing me, I would have just continued to not do it. But it was great too, because after 8 weeks, I had tape. Unlike most comics, after 8 weeks or 8 years, sometimes
they don't have even a well-formed joke, let alone tape.
Right. So I had tape. And so then I was in Los Angeles. I was starting to do these rooms at the Comedy Store with like these people that I should not have been on stage with. Like there were a couple openers, but like there were like 3 opening acts and then like Brian Callen that I got like booked on like in my first, like it was crazy, but I had tape. So like I was able to be like, hello, here's an email, blah, blah, blah. And then from Los Angeles, which I still technically have a mailing address there, is yours.
She is the third roommate that does not exist.
No,
which, by the way, I was talking to Carrie real quick, just a quick side. I was talking to Carrie. I was like, I was like, Ellen's coming on. She's like, oh, that's great. She was like, I really realized the other day, like when you were visiting 2 weeks ago, I was like, you lived with us for like 6 months, I feel. And in and our house is pretty fucking tiny, and the bathroom is in our bedroom. So the bedroom. You would have to come in every night to, do what you had to do. I'm surprised neither of us have ever seen each other naked. Like I was like, we've been each other for 6 months, and we've never walked at each other for like, oh shit, you're in the shower. Oh, I apologize. Oh, you're in the. You were changing. I apologize. We did a good job. I think we did a good job.
We did. Yeah, we did. I did pee in your yard before, just so you know.
We've all peed in that yard. Listen,
I was like, it sounds like they're doing something, and I am not going to be like
Tito's peeing. Yeah.
Can I use the bathroom?
Did you ever hear?
Like, there's a
did
dog.
You ever hear of us? Hear us?
No, but I wanted to. I listened for it, but I wanted to.
Well, next time we'll give you a show.
Please do. Yeah, there's no reason at this point. We know we're all okay.
Just bring your audio equipment. I want you to just hold a boom by the door while we're banging.
This would be the sweet sounds for me to go to sleep to on the road.
Hey Alexa, I don't want to hear oceans crashing or rains falling while I fall asleep. I want to hear 2 people bang.
Yeah, balls against ass.
Balls against ass. Alexa, stop.
Alexa, stop. Don't ever save this conversation. Stop listening.
Sorry, so continue. So you took this class, you had this tape.
Yeah, I had tape. I was doing stuff in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, though, is a weird city to start comedy in because it's a showcase city. So you're only ever doing, like at max, if you're like headlining, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to do more time. So I started applying to festivals. And then in some of the festivals, the one that I met Carrie at, met a lot of people that I could get more work out on the road. And then one of the last festivals before the world shut down, I met a producer that was like, hey, I would like to record your album. And I was like, sweet. And that was supposed to happen in April of 2020. I don't know if you saw the news. Did not happen.
No, it did not happen.
It did not happen. So now I'm still doing these weird, like, just road gigs until I can actually get the recording done. I just wanted to do the longer sets.
And how is it doing these road gigs in this, like, pandemic mask wearing world? Like, what is it like? Is it difficult? Is it the room's capacity? Like, what is it like?
The room's capacity is less depending on where you're at.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you saw the election. Not everyone believes in this. So yeah, there were, like I was in Wisconsin last week and did 3 shows there. The one was this brewery, this like super cool old building, great show, amazing. No one came in wearing masks. No one wore masks while they were there. And I was like, cool, I'm going to get COVID. But then I murdered. And so it's like, you kind of forget for a minute. And I was like, I did a really good job. And then I was like, I should go to the hospital.
I murdered, you murdered me. We're all going to get murdered by COVID. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.
It totally was. I was like, this is so weird, especially because right before going to Wisconsin, I was in Los Angeles where it's like, you walk your dog. Yeah. So, but then there was another spot in Wisconsin, like the other 2 spots were smaller rooms. Cause that one was, it was a small bar that like the capacity was probably like 60 people.
Okay.
And I think there were 40 in there, which is like too many.
Too many, but I think it's still a great audience to perform in front of. I like those.
Awesome.
I like those small audience, like the 40 to 60
Absolutely.
members. I feel like it's more intimate. You could do more, crowd work with it, and people are going to be like, "Wah!"
No, they're fun. They're definitely. It was such a fun show. But I mean, I take precautions while I'm doing my day-to-day errands here. I just, the shows. I think people are just dying to do something. That at this point, I keep making jokes to them. I'm like, you guys are just all like, whatever. It's the fucking apocalypse. Let's go to a show, honey, before we die. Let's have one last memory together. Let's watch this no-name comedian tell us jokes. Yay! Like,
and that's not going to be for that much longer. I have a feeling. It's not going to be. You're not going to be in, quote, as you say, no-name comedian.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
You're going to be huge, Ellen. I think you're fucking awesome. I think you're hysterical. I mean, I know Carrie does.
Thank you. And we are recording this.
Okay. We are recording this. So when I die and be like, I'm here to speak at Zach's funeral, but I just want to play this clip real quick.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. He was a great guy. Have a nice day. You don't even have to say anything else.
What could I say about Zach? What he said about me.
Roll it.
And that's why he'll be missed. No one has complimented me since.
Usually Zach's saying, "Shut up, Ellen," and now he complimented me.
Yeah,
so
I know. That's why this is a big deal.
So,
yeah, I hope it gets better. It's weird. Like last year I did stuff during the midst of the pandemic, but because the summer, there were so many places that had big outdoor spaces. And so it's this is fine. And outdoor shows are actually a lot of fun. I did a show in a field. So
Woodstock? What do you mean you did a show in a field?
Yeah. So speaking of big time, I did a show in a field.
Hey, listen, that was the big thing. Listen, Chappelle did it. You did it before Chappelle, and then Chappelle copied you. So basically,
they did, and they did a special. Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you.
And he did it. He did a half-hour special
in a field.
In a field. After Ellen Doyle did a half-hour special in the field.
Yes, write that down. That is so true. I think I did it in June. His special didn't come out till August or something. So
yeah, it was end of July, beginning of August.
Yep.
Well,
it's so hard being a woman in comedy.
Well, talk about that. I want you to talk about that. I mean, listen, I've seen it when I was doing stand up, the way women are treated differently, but from a firsthand experience, what the fuck's the problems? Why are people being such fucking dicks?
I mean, I do think that women are just held at a different standard in general for anything. This is just another job that they're held at the lower standard of you can't do it. Because if you had a lady doctor, and she didn't get to save a guy during surgery, it's probably be the same thing of being how many people and that's what I feel it is in anything. In comedy, there's just this, stigma that we're not funny. And here's the thing. I've seen plenty of women prove that correct. Just you go to open mics and girls get up there and they're like, so I'm slutty and sluts, and you're just oh my God, that's stupid. You see a lot of them, but you forget that all the other guys that go up there, you're like, that dude sucked.
Yeah, that's in retrospect. I've seen if the same amount, if not more, suck.
Well, definitely, because there's more dudes, but there's also
and the opposite of I'm a pretty woman. It's here's my dick and balls joke.
It's sad because a lot of what I think people are comparing it at are watching open mic comedy or a show with no name people that it's the risk you're taking to be maybe this person isn't going to be good, but you shit on the women more so. And I will say that there's been a couple times that being on the road, I was doing a shoot in Atlanta a couple of years ago, and I got off of work early, and I'm I'm going to go to a mic. And I went to this mic. I was super early. I had friends from work drop me off. It was 40 minutes from the hotel. And I go in there. I sign up. I'm number 4. The guy puts me up 17th, And then when I go, and so there's less people in the room, but whatever. I go up. I do a good job. And he goes, hey, you should have said you were funny. I was you should have fucking put me up 4th. I was does everyone that come in here say, hey, I'm funny, put me
here's my funny card. Look, I checked off 4 funny boxes. Now put me on the 5th one free.
And there was another scenario also in Atlanta, same trip. I went to, someone was you should go to this one spot. It's a really good it's an open mic, but it's like a show. So like you'll get like 10 minutes. There's like a huge crowd. So I go and I try to get on the show. And the guy's like, yeah, you're next. Yeah, you're next. Okay, you're after this person. You have to, and he's like, I don't have time for you. Like, and he sent me to, I'm not even kidding, a strip club was upstairs from this venue. And I go to this place. It's a super urban room. He sends like little white girl there thinking like, fuck that girl. I do a great job there. He sees me at a mic later in the week and goes, hey, I heard that when I said you couldn't be on my show, I sent you to that fucking terrible place and you killed. He was like, so anytime you're back in town, I'll let you on. And I was like, I appreciate that. But it's crazy because I do feel like women always like, they won't give you the chance at first.
Yeah, I go the extra mile to prove it.
Yeah. And then when I prove it, they're like, oh, why didn't you say you were funny? Like, well, I didn't know that you could have done a good job doing comedy at a technically strip club that I sent you to.
I thought I was sending you to a pizza place or, a Chick-fil-A in the back room.
It was so, and I was by myself. Like, it was so shady. And I was like, whatever, like, let's just go do this. I want stage time. And it works out. It's just like the confidence. I think sometimes I always try to tell other women that do comedy that it's anybody, it's male or female, but it's this lack of confidence sometimes. And I think because of the stigma that women aren't funny, I think girls walk in like that. Because there's an open mic in Los Angeles that I love, the Fourth Wall. My buddy owns it. He's got like a bunch of different spots, but he started the first original ones in North Hollywood. And it's a real broy, hard, shitstormy room to do. I love it. It's a great place to work stuff out because, it's got judgment free, which you need to have. Not that I'm like saying horrible shit, but like sometimes something comes out of your mouth. You don't want people to be like, cancel culture. Like, it's like, I was trying to figure the joke out,
Right. Which is like, talking about that real quick. That's why I stopped doing it, because I was too worried. You're talking about like the confidence. I was too worried I was going to say something while working at a joke, even though it's a joke that someone might get the teensiest, tiniest offense to and be like,
it happens. It happens to me. I had somebody, tell on me at a festival.
Tell on you? Yeah. What do you mean tell on you?
So this is actually another women in comedy thing. So I did the World Series of Comedy. I was doing a satellite fest, like one of their competitions in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And the joke that I was going to do is this joke about childhood cancer. It's a hoop. You've
told me. I love it. I love it. You've told me it. It's a fantastic joke.
But it's horrific. But it's honest. And like, so I went in, did my spot, won that round with the cancer joke. And one of the guys that was on the lineup with me who did not advance was like, I got to be honest with you. When you walked in, I was like, oh, here comes like some pretty girl. He was like, and then you just murdered that entire room. And I was like, thanks, man. The next night, part of the lineup or part of the rules of the competition is you have to do the same set. I was like, okay. So I do the same set. They hated it. One woman got up, went to the judge and said, who manages her? And he's like, not me. He's telling me this afterwards. And I was like, she thinks I have representation. That's flattering. I love it. And she goes, yeah, well, I had cancer. And he's like, okay. And like her and her husband left, like the whole room was like not into it. And the comics were laughing because they had heard me do it the night before and kill with it. And I was doing the same set. They're like, you just started telling the joke being like, fuck you, this is funny. And fuck you, this is funny. And fuck you, this is funny. Like, I'm not even, you guys are so like tight assed right now. Like, you're not even, you just hear, some people just hear the word and they're right. Like, huh?
But it's like you're there for comedy relief. You're there for relief. Like,
right.
Don't get so upset. It's a joke. Like, this is not representation of who you are.
Well, and the way that they responded, you would think that I was just yelling the N-word. Like, it was like, I'm like, that's bad. There's nothing, I have no joke that could come up and be funny. Right. And I don't think any white people do.
Nobody does.
But yeah, it's like they just shut down. Like, I'm like, man, can't. And it was crazy because when I won the first round, the judge was like, I didn't see that's where you were going with it. Has that joke ever failed? And I was like, no. And then it failed the next fucking
You jinx your fucking self, Ellen. That's what happened. Yeah. Like, this is the best joke ever. Boom.
Now I'm kind of afraid of it. Like, it's a weird joke. I really have to read a room to be like, okay, I'm comfortable enough to do this joke, even though that's the tape that I send bookers. Like everybody, that's the tape on my website. Like that's the first video you would see. Like everybody knows this joke and it's gotten me work. And then it's like when it doesn't, it fails like one time and I'm like, ah. But it was kind of cool because the fact that it failed, I then wrote, I had a drive from South Carolina to Los Angeles to write like 25 new tags for it to be like, or I could go like this, or I could go like that, you know, because if not, I never would have rewritten it because it was constantly working.
Right.
So, you know, the silver lining, I guess.
That's, yeah, I guess that's always a good point is like, you know, even though the joke has worked for so long, there's always ways you can rewrite it. Is there like when you're doing new jokes, do you have like an order of the way you want to present the new jokes? Like when I say that, when I was doing new jokes, when I was doing stand-up, I always led with like, I always did like my B material to lead off. Then I would do my C material, which is like my newer jokes, you know, to try to like, you know, see what happens and then end with my A material. So this way I could see how, if any of those jokes in the middle really resonate with anybody and put them somewhere different.
Yeah, I think the middle makes sense. I only have A material, so I don't really know what you're talking about, but
the confidence, the confidence.
So it's difficult for me to answer.
You can't relate to me. I totally understand.
I don't get it.
I understand. No, I have tons of C material, very few B, and a little bit of an A. I get it. Okay, well that fucking question bombed.
That question was D material.
That was material I should never fucking ask again because it's just gonna come fucking flying back in my face like it just did.
Well, it's so weird because
I guess I'm not going to ask you what's your biggest bomb because you don't bomb, Ellen.
I just told you that lady yelled at me. That lady told on me. No, I mean, I think I don't want to ever say that there's an order to doing it because sometimes like if you're doing like a set, it's like, oh, this is my opener and I kind of want to work on this. Like you always do I kind of want to work on this in the middle, but sometimes it's crazy because something might've just happened. Yeah. That you're like, oh, this is hilarious. And then that's your opener. Right. And then now you're working on new material, but it's just when it's in the moment and it's right there and it's fresh and you can riff on it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to ever, because then it'll sound strange to be like, hey, ba-da-da-da-da-da, this is how I start. What just happened outside of the parking lot? It's like the tone is so different that people are like, wait, the beginning, it didn't seem like you were authentic. And like, now you seem real.
It sounded like, you know, pre-planned out and now you're being more organic and natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
I always think it's best to comment on something that's going on, either that just happened or like about the space, not in like a negative way, but you know, about anything that's happening right now before I get into material.
No, I like that. Like do it like it's kind of like what happened in the crowd. Did someone like, you know, like interact with a comic beforehand that you want to like piggyback off of? Is it someone's birthday?
Totally.
That some bullshit.
Yeah. Or like you realize that there's like a funny named drink at the restaurant, like at the club, or you know what I mean?
Something just weird about the club in general.
Yeah. It makes it, because then you're selling your personality first without, because that's, I think the thing that I try to, when I write stuff is I try to make sure that it sounds as much like me I mean, it does sound like me, but that it sounds organic and natural constantly, even though I've said it a million times. And once it stops doing that, then it's like, take it the fuck out. Don't do it for a bit. Maybe you'll never do it again. Because now I don't believe it. That's why it doesn't sound that way.
Yeah. I feel like you do that with material for like a year or a year and a half, and then you got to retire it or just put it away on the shelf for a bit before you can bring it back out again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, because of everything,
it's all COVID
pandemic,
jokes.
I have 2 hours of COVID jokes, and then I do a quick BJ finish. No, it's. Women in comedy. What are they going to think of next? They're so original. No, but like stuff has happened from, you know, you don't want to go all COVID, of course. And you definitely right now don't want to get political. I will say that about going back out, and I don't have political material, but
I'm sure in the places you are traveling to right now, like a lot of the Midwest, you don't want to get political because it's going to be a mixed bag.
Well, and it is like, I mean, because you figure like, you know, I've been staying in Pennsylvania for most of the pandemic, and that's split in half state. We were waiting for them to get results forever. And then Wisconsin was the same way. Yeah. You know, like, and you don't want to bring it up because everybody has just been dealing with it for so long. Like, you know, plus I always think a political comic, unless you're really, really good at it and that's like your niche, but like if if you're just doing it just like to make a point, I'm like, no one gives a shit
Yeah.
what this comic isn't going to be like, wow, you know what? That blonde girl said something that I really resonated. Like, it's
And
like,
now I'm going to vote for someone different.
Yeah. I'm like, there's no way. If I'm changing your mind, that's a concern. That should be like a red flag.
Well, if you're changing your mind, you're in the wrong field. You should be going and polling places and telling people, no, vote for this person. What are you doing?
Clearly.
You should be a lobbyist.
Clearly.
Is there a particular order, like when you're like performing, do you like going first or in the middle of the pack, the end? I mean, I know you love the headline, so obviously the end, but like if you're not headlining.
I mean, I think featuring is fun. I do that a lot. It's not a bad spot, you know, because featuring is like the lucky position where you have longer time, but if the audience doesn't ever like you, it's not like the headliner is going to take care of the rest.
Right. You can crap out an extra 5-10 minutes and
you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But it's cool because you have a lot of time. Though I do like hosting. I like hosting a lot. The only thing
I hate hosting.
Really?
Yeah. I tell you why. I think it's because I think I have a hard time switching that brain off. It's like, I'm not the comic tonight. I'm now the host. So like, if I don't get the laughs, you know, I feel like you just don't get those, you know, your jokes don't work as good because you're the host. You're there literally the MC and moving things along.
Well, totally. And
opening the show.
Right. So you're going up cold. That's hard. You got to get people amped up. You know, that's a part of the job. But like, I have a lot of, like, I don't do the childhood cancer joke when I'm hosting. You know what I mean? It's a weird intro.
Have you ever done the joke and then like that doesn't work? No, because the jokes always work. So how do you know it doesn't work? Why wouldn't you do that?
I actually did it one time hosting at a club in St. Louis, and my friend, a comic there, sent me a review that a lady wrote about me on their Facebook page, and she was very mad. But the review was like, I will never come back here again. First of all, when the waitress was walking me and my boyfriend to our table, she walked in between us. Which is like, what? She goes,
isn't that what they're supposed to do?
She walked in between them.
She didn't hover above.
As if she was like, I'm going to walk behind your boyfriend and look at his fine ass because this man's mine. Like, it's like, what do you, and then she was like, but then the host came on stage and talked about childhood cancer in her skit. She goes,
oh my God.
She was like, what if somebody in the audience just lost a child to cancer? I know one of my children's classmates just lost a child. Like, you know, there are some things that just can't be joked about. And yeah, my friend, because that's like the joke that he booked me on a show when I first met him. He's got this like awesome like bar room, so much fucking fun. He found it and was like, all press is good press. Like he was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's Ellen. He was like, because it wasn't like, oh, who could that have? Because she didn't use your name. It was like, who was that? He's like, it's Ellen. It's saying she talked about childhood cancer, and that's Ellen Doyle's bit. Like he was like, that's Ellen.
I only know one comic that does it. It's Ellen Doyle. No one else.
Doyle. He was like, Ellen does that bit all the time. She's a monster. So yeah, so I don't do that now. And I have like, I've done a lot of shows that are like PG-13. Like I can totally do a set without cussing and without getting sexual. And I realized actually a lot of my material is cleaner than I think. Even though some of it's dark, because technically the childhood cancer material is clean.
It is, and it's a great joke. It's a great joke.
Doesn't die in the joke. No. Spoiler alert. Okay.
But the way you tell it, people think that she did. Your friend did.
I love that joke.
But I love that joke too. It's a fantastic joke. It gets Carrie guffawing all over the goddamn house when you tell that joke.
Well, I actually loved when her niece was in town. You guys were playing the video games in the backyard.
Oh yeah, Reese.
And you and I were playing like Mario Kart or something.
Yeah, and you're like giving her life lessons as you're sucking down your jewel. Like, listen, let me tell you something about life, kid.
But Carrie's like, tell her that joke, and I'm like, I can't just like do it off the cuff. You and I like playing video games, and then I just said it to her, and it was probably the best way I ever performed it because it was just like,
you weren't thinking.
You know what I want? Yeah, I wasn't thinking. I was still playing the game, and it was so funny. Like I was like, I should do this joke while, you know, getting involved in some sort of like,
and she loved it.
Ultimate. Yeah, but it works. Like, I mean, it's like, I know it. I actually haven't done it on this tour yet because it's because it's a tricky joke. Though I still talk, like, I have a spot for it because I talk about how my dad had prostate cancer, which is a hoot and a holler.
Well,
It's
dick
his
cancer
dick.
for you?
That's a riot. That's a riot. That's the funniest place to get it. I'll tell you, here's the point I've been making that I'm like, what's crazy is that, prostate cancer is very, very treatable, so it's like, get your prostate checked. Like my father recovered from it, like had to go through like radiation for a couple months, but he's fine. But I'm like, what's crazy is that breast cancer, they're like, we're just going to take your breasts. You're like, why? That's the reason anyone talks to me. Like, that's not fair. I'm like, but if someone came out of the lab and was like, we cured prostate cancer, they're like, great. They're like, we're just going to cut off the guy's dick. They're like, back in the lab, Joe, get back in there. No, that's not the cure. But for some reason, breast cancer, they're like, that's fine. And I'm like, what? Don't take it.
It's true. It's true.
Right? I'm like, it's so unfair.
Like, there's no middle ground. You can't be like, listen, we just got to shave off a little bit of the penis here where the tuber is. You know what I mean? It's like, they're like, no, don't touch it. Just don't, But,
Yeah.
No,
yeah, the fact that if that was the cure, it had to have been at a certain point, because it's definitely the cure for breast cancer. They're like, we're just going to take your boobs. Now you don't have friends or a boyfriend. You're like, oh,
just
that's
lop
not
off
fair.
your penis.
Yeah, like some guy would be like, nope, hand me a gun and have my oldest shoot me in the face. Okay. I'm going out his daddy.
I will go down with the ship.
That's right.
I don't care.
I'm the patriarch of this family. You kill me like a man. Penis intact, cancer and all.
They can take our tits, but they could never take our penis.
That's right. It's so crazy. It's speaking of how it's hard for women in all parts of the fuck being alive. It's even hard having cancer as a woman. We cured you.
And if anybody's offended about the breast cancer joke, my mom had breast cancer. I'm not offended. Get over it. Well, a couple more things I want to talk to you. What is the best show you've ever done? Like, what do you think, in your opinion, is the best show you've ever done, or the best place to do? Like, what's the best venue that you've done?
I don't know. It's tricky. Like, I like a lot of them. Kind of depends on like what you're in the mood for. I love the Slow Festival, not just because we brought it up earlier, but that is an amazing festival. They've been doing it for, I think, 10 years now. And there's nothing going on in that town at that time, which is why they picked it. And so now the town just like loves it, and the shows are packed, and they're so into every kind of they love it. They want it all. They want every type. And that's always a lot of fun. I don't know.
So I have the question that you can think about it, and we can talk about the worst place you've done it. I'm sure those have stuck in your head, unless you don't want to shit on a specific person and or place, so you don't get invited back. I understand. We don't have to talk about that.
I mean, I probably won't get invited back to South Carolina. They don't like me now.
Because of that joke.
Well, it's crazy because the guy, the manager saw me the night before when I won, and he was like, amazing. And the next night he was like, all right, bye. And I'm like, dude, fuck off. Like, not to mention the competitions are weird like that. Cause it's like, you're doing like 10 minutes, like where it's like, I could do an hour.
Right.
Like, and I could not even do this. You could even be like, hey, tonight's hour, like, make sure you don't make any dead baby jokes. I'm like, no problem. Even there goes 25 minutes of my act, but no problem.
I love dead baby jokes.
Yeah, we'll do a bunch of crowd work. Not a big deal. I will ask everybody in the audience where they're from and what they do for the life. Like, we'll figure it out. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything like so bad. I honestly think more so it's not necessarily the venue. It's like the crowd or the place that you're doing it at. Because I can have fun anywhere. Right. Like if I'm sitting in a hotel lobby right now. If someone was like, hey, do you want to do a comedy show? I'd be like, okay.
Sure.
Like, okay, I guess so. Sure. How much time do I get? Like I do it, but sometimes it's like the demographics. I will say, as far as maybe this can answer your question, not so much a venue, but I have this theory about how I actually think red states are easier to perform in than blue states. And my theory is because red states are usually religious. And if you say some fucked up shit, they're like, they have to be joking because God don't make no junk, you know. But blue states, but blue states are usually atheists, and so you say something horrible, they're like, "You're an asshole."
Yeah.
Like, there's no one to blame but you. Because I did a run a couple summers ago. Yeah, but I did a run a couple summers ago in Portland, Oregon, and I was there for 6 days. It took me 3 shows to get them on board. Like,
wow.
They were, and it was crazy. Like, and it wasn't like I bombed, but like, it just wasn't like, I wasn't getting the reactions that I was used to. And I'm like, what do you guys want? And then finally my buddy was in town. He's from up there. It was around the 4th of July. A family friend gave us acid for free because it's Portland. Just like, hey, you guys want acid? We're like, yeah, whatever, you know. And so my friend's like, well, we should go. I had a show. He's like, we'll go. We'll trip. My one friend works as a bartender at this strip club. We'll go to the strip club. And I'm like, great, because Portland loves their strip clubs.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I tripped.
Most strip clubs per capita.
Yeah. And they're crazy. So we like trip on acid at this strip club. And then the next night I opened my set with Portland. It's been a long time for me to understand. I don't get you guys, but last night I tripped my face off at a strip club. I was like, and I finally understand. And then everything hit after that. Like, I was like, I just had to embrace your culture. Like, I had to just,
you had to connect on a certain level, and then they accept you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I go to a Texas show, I eat barbecue as soon as I get there, and I just crush, you know. But it's like, if you, it's like I needed to do your weird cultural shit. But it was, but I think a lot of it was just like they're so. It's an uptight area.
Yeah.
You know, it's an area where everybody has the same opinions, but yet they're still mad at each other somehow. You know,
well, that's
like,
just the world in general.
It is, but it's funny because it's like, you know, sometimes blue gets, you know. You could be like, hey, I'm liberal. And someone's like, yeah, cool, me too. And they're like, but do you do this? You're like, oh, that seems weird. They're like, well, then you're not. Like, and you're like, oh my God. I'm not saying that the other side isn't that way either. Not to get political about it, but that's what I thought was crazy. I'm like, it's so hard to kind of, every day there's like a new word that I don't know. And I'm trying to be
there's something new that everyone's getting offended about and we don't know about it. Yeah.
I'm trying.
Have you, have you gone anywhere like international perform, like Edinburgh Fringe or anything like that?
I did do Edinburgh Fringe.
What'd you do? What'd you think of it? Because I love Edinburgh Fringe.
Did you do it?
No, I haven't done it.
It's amazing even to see. Like,
yeah.
It's a beast. Yeah, I was there 2019 Edinburgh Fringe. I was there for the whole month.
Oh, that's right. And then you came back.
Yeah.
That's right.
I was there for the whole month. It was wild. Like, I did, my buddy, a really good friend from back home, actually runs the Scranton Fringe Festival, and he's always into fringe stuff. So he brought a show that needed a sound person, and he was like, will you come with me and run sound? So I was like, okay. And then just logged on to their forums to be like, all right, well, now I'm a comic, let's find shows. And I mean, finding shows was insane. Like, it was just like, boom, 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 boom. Like, before I was even, you know, out of the country, like I already had, like, I was pretty much booked.
Wow.
You know, and then you're finding shows there, and they were so fun because like a lot of their shows have like weird game show elements, or like the one I got booked on consistently was through this Australia group. It was called The Dirty Show, and they kept booking me for all of my dead baby material. They're like, that's why we bring you back. They were like, you don't understand. We hate Americans. Everybody hates Americans.
I honestly, you would kill it if you were in Australia. I mean, when I was there, I loved it. It was the highlight of my stand-up.
Did you do it there? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I really felt like I came in my own, like doing comedy was over there, because, you know, in New York, you know, doing stand-up in New York is great because there's all these bars, pizza shops, whatever you want to call them. You can do 5, 6 in a night. You know, but you're performing in front of other comics that hate their lives just like us, and they're not paying attention. You're not getting what you want. You know, like they're not giving you the feedback, the natural feedback that you want from the jokes. You're like, I don't know if this joke works. I performed in front of 7 people that were writing their own fucking jokes while I'm telling my jokes.
Totally.
So what was great about Australia is like Australia, and I guess this could be the same in smaller towns across the United States, was that going to Australia, live entertainment, you know, in New York, you have Broadway, you have this show, you have this underground show. So it's like, why am I going to, I can't make it to your show tonight, Zach. I'll come to one of the other 50,000 ones you're going to be doing this year at some fucking, you know, at John and Vinny's, you know, where Australia, it's like, they had like, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 rooms that were big, and you could do them all throughout the week, but they paid you to do it. You didn't have to worry about bringing people to do 5 to 10 minutes or buying a drink to get on stage. It was like, oh, I get to sit back. I get to focus on my material in front of actual genuine audience, not like not majority made up of comics, and get that feedback that you want for your joke, and you get to really craft it. And that's why I feel like I really took off. And then after a year being there, moved back to the States because my visa ran out. And it's like a New York Minute. If you're not there for 6 months, people forget who you are. They want to put you on shows, and then the shows you're going to are just, again, like 10 people and half of it's comics in the audience. You're not getting the reaction.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because New York and LA are similar like that, like those showcase cities where and like the bringer shit, which I get like when you're first starting out, but like it's so hard to kind of like rise up and be like, how do I prove to you that I'm not this schmuck over here? Yeah. And I really do think that what at least helped me was that I was like, I went on the road, that I'm like, I can come back and do 5 minutes, no problem. Because it's like, I've just done hours over and over again, 45 minutes. So this, like, it's so natural to me. It's like and sometimes you're grasping to being like, I only have this 5 minutes. I need the right person to see it. The best thing you could do in those big cities is to get out of them. And then come back to them.
But no one tells you that, because everyone, like, even with like like you said, you took a class. Yeah. People were like, I remember my dad was like, well, I'll sign you up for a class at like Gotham Comedy Club or blah, blah, blah. And then every comic I talked to in New York was like, don't fucking do that. You're spending money on someone that you might get a tape from. There's a million fucking shows and bars here. Just go and fucking perform. You'll get better at it. And I'm like, and now talking to you about this whole thing, it probably would have benefited me to maybe take the class, because again, then I get a tape and I can present the tape to clubs.
And the tape is always, if you take a class, the tape is good quality. Yeah. Because that's the problem too, because then I've also done stuff after the fact and got tape at a club that was decent, but the tape sucked. Yeah. And it's like, I have this one tape from a club in Pasadena that I will not name names, so you know what I'm talking about. But they, it sound like it's on this shitty handy cam. The sound isn't set up correctly. I'm blown out for the most part. Yeah. But you don't hear the audience at all. So it sounds like I'm a psychopath, and then I just pause because there's laughter, but you don't hear it because of the way the camera. Like, I don't know what.
There's no audience mics. There's nothing. There's no multi mixer. There's nothing of that shit. Yeah.
I'm like that tape. The fact that you guys didn't mic the audience, like, that tape is useless. Yeah. It's useless to me. And honestly, like, I actually want to teach a class because I got a bunch of opinions about like childhood cancer and how to get it and like where to.
I got a lot of opinions, people.
I got a lot of opinions. Look, there's so many ways to die, and you could have already done it if you tried. It's horrible. No, like I think a class with anything helps, because, like, here's the thing. It's like, you still have to go and do the open mics and do the shit shows. You still have to do that. But what's wrong? The class gives you a network. Now you've met other people that want to do it. So you at least have always like a writing partner now that you've met, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whether that develops into something or not, and like, you're still networking. And on top of it, like, someone might say something that you're like, oh, I never thought of that. Could I probably find all this information on my own? Yeah. Like, could I get better by just eating a dick at a show constantly? Sure. But the class sometimes puts it into perspective, because remember, how many people have you seen that are terrible?
Thousands.
And like, week after week, like, they just walk around like they're like one of the best. And it's like, where are you going? The class, for the most part, will point out to you where you need to clean up stuff, because sometimes you don't realize it. You don't realize that it's like, oh, I'm being too wordy, or I'm not being confident, or I'm not being authentic, or that
your stage presence is weak. You're not like, you're looking down at the floor. You're not looking in the audience and making eye contact. Yeah.
And there's another thing about the fact that, like, like, Jim Gaffigan writes with his wife. You know what I mean? Like, he has a writing team. All major comics have writing teams. Mm-hmm. Jim Gaffigan didn't come up with like 40 tags for bacon on his own. He probably came up with a lot of them, but other people came up with those. And the class should make you realize that it's like, you can gain from, like, I've gotten tags from people, and it's funny because I've met comics who and they're in like the smaller scenes, like back in Pennsylvania, where like I'll sit at a mic and I'll hear their set which one, the fact that I'm listening should be flattering because I'm not usually listening. But then I'll give them a tag and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's funny. And I'm like, yeah, take it, and they're like, well, I don't want to take it. It's your joke. And it's like, I'm not going to go home and write a bit based on total eclipse of the heart and my anxiety just to have this tag, you know? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, it's your joke.
Take it, take it. Or don't take it, but I'm not doing it.
Or don't take it, right. But like, because you'd be pissed off if I did come back next week and I wrote a better version of it with my tag. And you'd be like, that's my joke. That's my premise. Yeah, it is. I gave you the tag. Because honestly, it's like, if you wanted to become a better screenwriter, it's like, then write stuff.
Right.
But wouldn't it help at a certain point to be like, I'm just going to take a class, because there's so much you could do banging your head against your laptop being like, right. Is this working? Is this working? And I think it's the same with comedy, and people shit on it because I think a lot of comics can't explain what's happening. They're just good at it.
I agree with that. I completely agree.
And I'm not going to say that there's not bad classes. There's bad classes for everything. But just because you can't explain it, just because you wouldn't be a good teacher, but you're a good comic, that's fine.
Yeah.
But there are people that would help them kind of feel less terrified to walk into that open mic the first time without having they don't even know what to talk about.
Yeah.
Where a class could be like, these are the types of jokes. These are the types of ways you could set stuff up. Like, what are things that make you upset? Let's write down that list. Now we'll write material about that. Like, it helps you.
Of course, 100%. And then something that people don't think about, because it's just, again, it's just like, just get up and perform. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out as you go. That's what this is all about.
Well, and it's funny too, because a lot of those people have never performed ever.
Right.
And I had been a dancer since I was 2 years old, which is the funniest thing you could do. Like, what a silly art form in general. But like, the fact that I could confidently do that, but I would still take a comedy class, because it's like, the stage presence thing didn't bother me. And that's a lot of people's struggles, where it's like, you're really funny with your friends, but it's so scary when like all eyes are on you and you don't know these people. Like, yeah, that's a horrible feeling.
Right.
But it's funny because it's like, those are the people that could really use someone honestly. Like, I will say, like, I've taken classes where I think teachers have blown smoke up people's asses, and I'm like, why? Like, just because you want them to take your class again,
sign up for level 2.
Yeah. But I've taken some classes where people are so honest, and they're not shitty about it. It's constructive criticism, but
it's the only way you're gonna get better.
Yeah. And like, it's helpful. Like I like having, honestly, most people that teach a class are bookers anyway. So it's like, it's really actually not a bad idea to take the class, because then you're at least on their roster, because the only way to do it is to hope that they're at the fucking club open mic when you're there. You have to think of it as like a tactical thing, and not as people are going to teach me how to be funny. It's like, no one's teaching me how to be funny, but I'm getting an opinion of someone who's been in the business 3 decades longer than me, on what they're looking at, how they're perceiving me. That's value in itself. I get real mad when people shit on classes, because it's so much of that in the arts with anything, and it shouldn't be that way,
Yeah. And I just shit on classes. So that was a great way to end this interview, because I was shitting on classes. Fantastic. Don't take... No.
You didn't. You didn't shit on classes. You said you wish you took one. Like, well, you were.
I wish I took a stand-up. I took improv class. I took class at UCB because, I had never really, like, even though like you've been dancing and you were dancing since you were 2, I had a little bit of stage work. I didn't have a lot. So I really want to get comfortable with the awkwardness of being on stage. And I feel like improv is a great way to do it, because you're not planning anything to say. And, after about 2-3 years of taking improv, and being in Australia, I realized the improv teachings really helped me with my crowd work. And then coming up with the joke right there, or thinking of something funny right there, because otherwise I'm sitting there reciting what I wrote down.
Oh no, then you sound like a robot.
Yeah,
exactly. You lose that voice and authenticity.
Yeah,
everyone knows you're bad.
Yeah.
Not you, but
no. I know what you mean.
You should quit. I'm glad you did. No.
I'm coming back this year. 2021 is going to be my year, and if not, then 2022. And then, I mean, listen, I'll never be. Here's the thing. I'm with Carrie. I'm never going to be as fun as Carrie. Carrie is like the CEO of funny.
She is so good. She's so funny. Her character work is spectacular. When I feel down, I mean, and yours as well. Actually, I watch your, I don't know if it keeps counting my view, but I've definitely watched your White Claw video like 600 times.
I wish it did. I wish it did. Otherwise, I would have a lot more viewers.
No, I watch that when I feel bummed out, and I watch Carrie's like a lot of her characters. She's got the.
I want her to record more. You know how hard it is to get that woman to record stuff? Because like, here's the thing: she'll record when I'm not around. She gets really organic and natural and like improv-y when I'm not around. So like, I'll be in the shower, and then all of a sudden I hear her start singing in like some crazy ass character, or in the bathroom taking a shit, and all of a sudden she's like, "Tito, oh," and she starts doing it with Tito and the cat. And then I come out, I'm like, "What'd you do?" She goes, "What? I didn't do anything. I was just sitting here." I was like, "Bitch, I heard you fucking in the other room. You were had multiple personalities. Right? The fuck you talking about?"
I just got a notification on my phone from Instagram. You just posted.
She has so much shit she never posted. And she's like, I need to get a following. I'm like, then post your shit.
I know, I'm so bad about social media too, but she's got so much great. I think like, yeah, it's moving so quickly. You don't even know what the fuck to do with it.
Exactly.
It's like, sometimes I'm like, I have this really great idea. And then I'm like, okay, let me put it up there. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to add a little filter. And then by the time I get to that point, I'm like, is this funny? Do people like me?
Right. Exactly.
Like, and then you're like, I'm just going to go sit somewhere and look at someone else's Instagram and be like, why do they have 4 million followers and I have 6?
Story of my life.
It is great. You do a lot of great stuff, though. I love your Instagram.
Thanks.
You should follow. For anyone who's listening, you should follow. Do you plug yourself? Okay.
Follow Ellen Doyle at The Broken Adult. Right.
This Broken Adult.
It's Broken. It's Broken Adult.
This
Broken Adult. Follow Ellen Doyle at This Broken Adult. Not This Broken, but This Broken Adult. Ellen, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Really taking the time. Have fun in Wisconsin. Have a lot of cheese.
I'm in Minneapolis.
Whatever. Same shit. The fucking Finger Lakes. All right.
Completely different state. The Finger Lakes are in New York.
Listen, my geography is not good. There's New York. Someone shared a map today. It's like, this is what people from outside of the country think the United States is. It's New York, Texas, Los Angeles. And that's what's in my mind. Everything that's in between Los Angeles and New York is just Texas. It's just Texas. Texas is that big. It goes from Chicago, Illinois, down to fucking Texas. That's how big Texas is.
It is. I'm actually further up from that. Can you believe it? I've never been to the States, so it's actually exciting. They're drunks.
Well,
that's
enjoy
what you have to know about the Midwest.
Well, enjoy it. Yeah, they're all mid. Enjoy it. And have fun. Be safe. I love you.
I love you too. Thanks for having me.
I hope to see you in Los Angeles on my couch very soon.
Yeah, invite me back.
Well, you can come back anytime.
Let me know when you guys need couch rent.
Or couch pizza. Whatever. Yeah, that's how I pay rent.
That's right. We need to find some money in this couch. Let's lay Ellen on top of it and see if she has a couple bucks in her bank account.
We'll just shake her up and down.
That's it. Found money between the cushions.
We found it. Thank you, though. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.